Today, you're going to learn 5 JavaScript one-liners that might just save you some time. But to preface this, I don't think that you should always go for the most concise code or to increase your dollars per code written as much as possible, as I think that that can lead to some really hard to read and really hard to maintain code. Okay, so I think all these one-liners are fairly readable and they are good to use. But in general, I wouldn't just try to create one-liners to be clever when I think it's usually better to sometimes be a little bit more verbose and write a little bit more code to make things a little bit more readable and maintainable over time. Okay. But first off, let's go to number 1 here. And this is removing duplicates from an array. So here on line 4, I have a constant called nums, and I have a bunch of different values in it with definitely some duplicates, as you can see here. And then on line number 5 here, this is my one-liner to remove the duplicates. What I can do is I can open up a pair of square brackets here. So you can see the square brackets here and here, and that is initializing a new array. And then what I'm doing here is within this new array, I'm creating a new set and I'm passing my nums array to my new set. And a set in JavaScript is a collection of unique values. So this set is automatically going to ignore any duplicates. So it's effectively going to remove the duplicates of my numbers array. But I don't just want to create a new set here. I want to remove the duplicates of this array. So the way I can do that is I am using the 3-dot spread operator here, and I'm now spreading my new set without any duplicates into this new array here that I created with the square brackets. Okay, so I initialized a new array. I passed my numbers array into my new set to remove the duplicates, but I didn't want to just create a new set. I wanted to end with an array, so I spreaded my set with my 3-dot operator into my new array. And if I console log here, non-dupes, what you're going to see is I get an array that has no duplicates within it. Okay, so I think that is one good JavaScript one-liner there to remove duplicates from an array. Number 2, generate the sum of an array. And the way that you can do this is using the reduce method that exists on arrays. And if you haven't seen my full video on reduce, you can go check that out for a more in-depth explanation as well as more things that you can do with reduce. But here I have a numbers array with just a collection of numbers within it on line 10. And then on line 11 here, I assign the constant sum to the return value of calling the reduce method on my numbers array. This reduce method here takes a couple of arguments, a function as well as an initial value. And for this function here, I'm going to pass it an inline function that just adds my numbers together. So the reduce method, it's going to give you every value of this array right here. It's going to pass that as your kind of current value here. And then it's also going to give you an accumulator value. And that accumulator is going to be the return value of whatever you returned from this function. And it's just going to return that value every iteration of passing each one of these numbers to the reduce method. And all I'm doing is I'm going to return my current value plus my accumulated value. And then for my initial value here, the second argument to the reduce method, I'm passing it 0. I'm starting with 0 here because I just want to get the sum of this array. And if I console log my sum here, you're going to see that I get 98, which I don't try to do public math here off the top of my head, but that seems about right for this numbers array. Number 3, make a string title case. I'm not really sure if this is the technical term for this, but what I mean by title case is on line 16 here, I have a constant called full name, and it's just my name. But you can see my first name and my last name, they aren't capitalized. And what I want to do here is I want to make my first and last name have my first letter capitalized. And this might be useful if you want to generate a title from a lowercase string, but you want to capitalize the first letter of every word after a space, you could use something like this. So on line 17, this is my one-liner in which I create a constant called titled name, and then I call the replace method on my full name, and I pass a regular expression here that is going to match the first character of every word of my string right here. And then as a second argument, I can pass a function of what I want to do to that character. And here I just call the toUpperCase method. All right. So this regular expression is going to match the first character of every word. And then this is going to capitalize that. And if I console log my title name, you can see that I do indeed get Ryan Solomon, but the R and S are both capitalized at this point. Number 4, remove all falsy values from an array. So here on line 22, I have an array called maybe falsy, and you can see it has the Boolean false in it, it has 0 in it, it has an empty string in it, and it has these falsy values. And I could even add like null, that would also be falsy. And you can see my video on truthy and falsy values in JavaScript for more info on truthy and falsy values. But my goal here is going to be to remove all the falsy values, but keep all the truthy ones. So here on line 23, I create a constant only truthy, and I assign it to the return value of calling my maybe falsy array here and calling the filter method on that array. And the filter method takes a function, and it's going to pass every value of this array to this function, similar to my reduce method. And if I return true from this function, it's going to keep that value in this array, or in the array that it returns to the only truthy constant here. But if I return false, it's not going to keep that value in the array. So here I'm just using a ternary operator in which I'm saying value question mark, and that's basically just asking, okay, is this a truthy value? If so, return true, because I want to keep that value in my array. But if it's not a truthy value, then return false. I don't want to keep it. And if I console log this, you're going to see that the only values that remain in my array are truthy values, 12, hey, 11, and true. And all the falsy values are now removed. And the final one-liner here is to find the max value in an array. And the way that you can do this, so on line 28, I have a constant called nums, and it has a bunch of different values in it. And then on line 29, I have a constant called max, and my goal is to get the max value of this original array, nums, and assign that to my constant max. And the way that you can do this is using the math.max function in JavaScript. And then I can't just pass it my array here. That's not going to work. I need to pass it each individual value. But luckily, I can use the spread operator to do that. So I can spread my nums array using the 3-dot operator, and that will pass each individual number into this math.max function. And that is going to return the maximum number from this array here. So if I console log math.max, I get 5432 as my number, and I believe that is the maximum number of this array. So those are 5 JavaScript one-liners that might just save you time.